You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. Good afternoon to most of you. Good morning for a handful of you still stuck out here in California or Hawaii or wherever you are that's not quite at the noon hour. Should be happening any second. Let me check. Yep, any second now. We will be beyond noon, so we'll all be in the same time genre. Big show today. Huge show, really. Yeah, last Friday, I started to do a show. When I say started, it was a full show, but I did cut it a bit short, and I wasn't very happy with it. I'll admit I wasn't happy with it because I was going after the Red-Green Alliance, and I couldn't figure out what it was, why I was having such a difficult time really working through it. And that's when I realized, as I was putting together the revised version of the show last night, I was thinking through how to do it, and I realized, you know what? The big thing here is that I'm trying to squeeze two shows into one, okay? The Red-Green Alliance really needs to be three shows. Talk about the red, the Marxism aspect of things, and then a second show to talk about the green, the Islamist aspect of things, and then bring them all together for a third show. Now, I'm not necessarily going to do them back to back to back because that's a little bit too much Red-Green Alliance all in one sitting. I remember a few years ago, right around the time when the pandemic treaty was coming out, I did 5 consecutive shows about it. By the end, I felt like that pastor who had done a 96-hour sermon on the entire Bible. Maybe I didn't feel that bad, but I did feel pretty crazy. Welcome to all of you wonderful people in the chat. Please be sure to hit that Rumble button. You know, we didn't hit my goal. My goal was 30 million, and we didn't quite hit that yesterday, so we're going to take our goal down a little bit. We're going to go for 29,983,000. So if we can get that, then it will be free shows for everybody the rest of the month. That's what I'm offering to all of you wonderful, wonderful people. Oh, let's see, saying some highs. I forgot to say highs yesterday. Let's start from the bottom up. Let's go. Hey, Zully. Wildlife Watcher, Freebird, Rosebud, A Lovin' Callie, Dano, Elk Forever. Yes, and I am sorry for being out here in California as well. It won't be long. You know, my goal, we're out here. For those who don't know the story, I'm not going to tell it long, but we do have a physical reason for being out here. Like, we have to be out here for a specific medical reason for a specific doctor. So yeah, that's it is what it is. It is what it is. Deb Canody, hello, Zam, Zully, Jitter, Freebird again, Zully again, Hamilton. Good stuff. Lady Bastiat, Roll Tide, not sure where you are. Just kidding. I can't wait for football season. I don't watch the NFL anymore, as you know, but I do definitely enjoy watching me some college football. Boomer Sooner. Let's see. Maggie Talley, hello. Conservative Gigi, hello. Tessa. Rosebud again. Yeah, let's get those rumbles up, my friends. So, Red-Green Alliance. It is, in my humble opinion, the biggest non-end times biblical aspect of the world, the biggest challenge that we're facing. And one can definitely argue that if we are indeed in the end times, as I believe we are, then that would mean that the Red-Green Alliance definitely plays a role in all that. Now, there are two big mistakes that are often made when it pertains to the Red-Green Alliance for those who are even aware of it. And unfortunately, I would say the vast majority of Americans are not aware of it. But for those who are aware, there are two mistakes. Mistake number one is to underestimate it. You know, we look and we say, oh, you know, it couldn't be that bad. They've got, what, like 100,000 members out of tens of millions of registered Democrats. They can't really have that much power. You know, surely they couldn't win the mayorships in Seattle, Los Angeles, New York City, Washington, D.C., or anywhere else. Surely they couldn't win Democrat primaries, 14 of them so far. Surely they're not that big of an influence on the Democrat Party, and it's not like the Democrats themselves are terrified of them. No. You can't underestimate them. Are they small? You betcha. Are they extraordinarily well funded by some of the richest people in the world? Yeah, I think so. And that that gives them power, as does what I believe to be a very strong satanic, demonic influence over the party, driving them, helping them to move forward. There's always that. Powers and principalities have their money betting on the Marxists, the Democratic Socialists of America, as they like to call themselves. Now, let's be clear about something. The DSA was formed in the 80s, 90s, 80s. I believe it was 80s. Yeah, they were formed in the 80s. Democratic Socialist. Now, it sounds as if it has something to do with the Democratic Party. It does not. It has absolutely positively nothing to do with the Democratic Party other than using them the way that they use them. They are parasites. They have infected this host body, the Democrat Party, and they said, hey, we're Democratic Socialists. And that's how they got their thing. That's how they've been rolling ever since 2016. Bernie Sanders got the ball rolling. 2018, the Squad and the Justice Democrats came along. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won, and she's been winning ever since. You've had some setbacks. Now, the biggest challenge they have is not in their funding, not in their ideology. That's a huge problem, but not for them, not for winning. No, the biggest problem they have is that the people they get to run for them are oftentimes just absolute morons, just the most gullible, stupid, idiotic people. Some of them are smart, to be clear. I don't want to downplay all of it. Some of them are smart, but when you got Fire Alarm Bowman and Cory Bush, of course they're going to lose because they were sort of shoved in there and they were bad. But now they're getting fresh blood, new people in there. So do not underestimate the Democrat Socialists of America, the Marxist Party. But the other mistake that people often make, if they are even aware of the influence of the DSA, is to overestimate them. They're not there yet, folks. Are they getting there? You betcha. Do we need to stop them? 100%. But they still only have 100,000 members. They are still a leech on the Democrat Party. But they are starting to take control, and that's the part that concerns the Chuck Schumers of the world. It's the part that should concern us. Now, there's a weird 3D chess. It's more like 2D checkers in my books, but there is this concept that, we need to support the Democrat Socialists of America because they'll be the downfall of the Democrat Party. If we can get them to win, then we'll beat them in the general elections. And that ain't it, Chief. That's not the strategy. They are too dangerous. There's too much at risk to try to use them as a way to take down the Democrat Party. Are they going to do it? You betcha. They are definitely going to take down the Democrat Party. Could be within a year or two, could be a decade or two. I don't know the timeline. But because of this trend, because of their momentum, it would take something pretty catastrophic. The reason being isn't because they're growing necessarily. It's because the Democrats, the progressives, the leftists, all the various different factions on the left are shifting further to the left. They're catching up. Okay? And it's funny because as of today, the quote-unquote progressive caucus, they're getting their butts kicked left and right by the Democrat Socialists of America. And they're doing so, they're getting beaten because they're too moderate. The quote-unquote progressive wing of the Democrat Party is too moderate. Now again, to reiterate, two major challenges with the DSA and our understanding of them. The most important one is do not underestimate them. But the second most important one is do not overestimate them. Do not give them too much credit. Not yet. We still have to fight the Democrat Party, the uniparty swamp version, we'll call it, of the party. Keep in mind that the DSA is not part of the uniparty swamp. They're not. They oppose the uniparty swamp nearly as much as I do, just from the other angle. They think that the uniparty swamp is way too moderate. And they think that they're too corrupt and that they are blocking their way. This is why they were so upset that Bernie lost to Hillary and that Bernie lost to Joe. In both cases, by the way, had the uniparty swamp not intervened, then Bernie would have won either of those. And that should tell you, going back to point number one, don't underestimate them. Do not think that they're just so radical that nobody, and we've seen, I'm going to show different clips. That seems to be the prevailing sentiment amongst Republicans, amongst conservatives, amongst even former Democrats. They keep saying, yeah, I thought that, I just don't think that America's ready for that. I don't think America's ready for that. I would agree if I had faith that your average American voter was going to be doing their due diligence and really digging into it and finding out that the person they just voted for is opposed to jails. Huh? What? What do you mean? Yeah. Oh yeah. That Democrat Socialist you voted for, that you helped to get into office, they want to shut down all the jails. No jails. Zero. Is that what you thought? Well, no, they didn't mention that on the campaign trail. Did they? Are you sure? Because I think they did. I think it's on their website. Well, I didn't read that. Well, what do they say on the campaign trail? Well, I don't know. That's your average voter. It's not just Democrats, it's independents, and it is Republicans. So don't say, oh, America would never vote for a Marxist. Yeah, they would. They did in New York. They did in Washington, D.C. They did in Seattle. They will in Los Angeles. And I'll talk more about that here in a second. But let's go to my, I almost said good friend. I've actually never spoken to him, so I can't say he's a friend. But let's go to Stephen Miller's take on the current status of the Democrat Party.
Look, the Democratic Party has two groups now: radical extremists and cowards. The cowards who've allowed the radical extremists to eat the party alive. Maybe they know at some level that it's wrong, that it's evil, that it's dangerous, that is leading to all this incredible violence against conservatives that we've seen. Maybe they're just too stupid, they don't know that. But you have cowards and you have extremists.
Can I get a thumbs up, a rumble for Stephen Miller? Applause. Very well said. He did forget, of course, that third group, which is the bulk of them. Vast majority of Democrats are just stupid. Okay? They're just stupid. There's the evil ones. There's the ones that cower. That I guess we'll have to give way to the AOCs of the world. Give way to Bernie. But then the majority, and amongst the voters, and even amongst many of the politicians, is that they're just too stupid to realize that the Democratic Party is being taken over by the Democratic Socialists. Back to it real quick before we go any further. Back to the naming. The naming is brilliant because, again, it was intended to latch on to what at the time was considered to be the only viable leftist party, right? They wanted to latch on to the Democrats as they were building themselves up, so they named themselves Democratic Socialists. It's a double entendre. Yes, it is supposed to help them to get on ballots by being quote unquote Democrats, even though they're not, but also it's to be as truthful as possible. I mean, they are Marxists, or as they like to call themselves, socialists. They're beyond socialists, to be clear. But they're Marxists, but they get in by being elected democratically. That's their way of naming themselves. They do have their eyes set on the Democratic Party. They want to take it over. And they're in the process of taking it over. And again, to reiterate, I don't want to repeat myself 100 times today, but I want to make sure that this point is driven home. It's not just bringing their people in. It's about taking the people that are already there in the Democratic Party, everybody from voters all the way up to the politicians and the bureaucrats and everybody else, and just sucking them over further to the left, further to the left. They're going to make it to where it's impossible. Right now, we already see that it's pretty much impossible to be a pro-life Democrat, for example. Only in very few states can you be a Second Amendment Democrat, for example. Well, those two things, those are no-brainers to the Democrat Socialists. Of course, we only want the power of force and firearms in the hands, in our hands, not us, you and me, but their hands, the power of the authority, so that the authorities can then push their agenda as much as possible. They want a completely disarmed population, and of course they want as many babies as possible killed. I mean, that's part of the whole demonic, the satanic sacrifice. That's part of it. And yes, I'm not saying that jokingly. That is literally part of it. Just look at what the Satanic Temple has done in their lawsuits, trying to say, hey, no, this is part of our rituals. We need abortion. They weren't kidding. They're not just trying to find some legal loophole here. They're actually, they sacrifice babies. Speal in the modern day. And the Democrat Socialists, the Marxists, are all about it. Oh, they love it. Oh, they just, they get so excited with every child that has their life snuffed out, sometimes very graphically. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's okay if it's chemical, but they really want them just not going to spit today. It's going to keep it level as best I can. Man, that one took me off track. But no, they are trying to pull even is in the very near future. It will be impossible to be an active member of the quote unquote Democratic Party if you're not in favor of defunding police. It's not just about defunding ICE or putting restrictions on ICE. That's just that's the populist leftist take on it, right? No, they want police defunded. They really truly do want this to be a nation with no laws. And I'm not talking about no regulations. Oh, they want the regulation. They want to regulate every aspect of your life. But no criminal laws. What is a criminal anyway? I mean, it's just another human being that maybe went astray a little bit, maybe caused a little bit of damage. But you know what? It's probably just property damage, right? I mean, we're already seeing it in Europe. And this goes, I'm going to try to not get sucked into the green side of things. But we're already seeing it in Europe through the laws, through their version of Marxism, their red in the Red-Green Alliance, which is enabling the green side to get away with stuff. You are more likely to get arrested for complaining about a Muslim committing a hideous crime than the Muslim himself in Europe. And that's what they want here. And it's coming. It's coming if we don't stop it. Unfortunately, there is this misunderstanding. It continues that, and I'm going to play actually a couple of these in a row because I want you guys to hear it on repeat, right? Let's start with Evan Barker. For those who don't know, she was a Democrat. Now she's one of those, the Democrat Party left me. She was a Democrat strategist. She was all on board with all that stuff. And now all of a sudden, she's on Fox News and Newsmax and writing books about leaving the left.
And I really, really thought that in the aftermath of the 2024 election, the Democrats would figure out that they needed to moderate a little bit. And that's not at all what we're seeing. And I think the reason why is because the establishment has been empty. They don't stand for anything. They don't believe in anything. So you've got the progressives, Zohran Mamdani, Graham Plattner, all these progressives, and they've got energy. They really do believe in things. It's just that the things that they believe in are not going to win over people like my family in the Midwest.
Again, there's that. She was nailing it. She's like, man, a lot of people thought, I didn't think this, but a lot of people on the right thought, you know what? They went too radical. They went too woke. That was the big thing prior to the election. Too many illegal aliens, too much wokeness, too many men in women's bathrooms. They're going to tone it down. Now they would have, they really would have. The Democrats would have, if it wasn't for the Democrat Socialists of America. The DSA, again, has basically made a very mafia-style threat. Those that go against them are going to get hit, and they're going to get hit through money. Now, there's no way I'm about to make a quote-unquote accusation. This is my opinion for those who want to throw me under the censorship bus or have me arrested by some UK law. I'm not in the UK. But if I ever travel there, I don't want to get arrested, okay? So this is not a direct accusation. This is where I think it's happening. I know it is. But I think that it's happening this way. Is that you have a whole lot of people, and it's not just the George Soroses or the Neville Roy Singhams or the usual suspects, okay? It's also people here, very rich people here, that are supplying this money, that are supplying the clout, the power for this really tiny group to have so much sway over this gigantic party. Again, 100,000 people are quote-unquote Democratic Socialists in the United States of America. That's tiny when you compare it to the tens of millions of registered Democrats. So how is this little speck of an organization able to have so much sway? It's because they have behind them, they got Big Daddy Lion, right? Not a lion, because that's actually a positive thing. I was thinking along the lines of the Lion King, where you got the little kid, Simba, trying to growl at the hyenas, and then it isn't until they see Mufasa behind him and he roars, and then they get scared. That's sort of what the DSA is. It is a little itty bitty cub, but they've got this. They've got all the right people behind them, which should tell you something. Should tell the entire world something about Marxism. When you have the people who already have everything, the super rich, the super powerful, when you have people like that backing Democrat socialism, or what they call Democratic Socialism, what's full-blown Marxism, that tells you that they understand who really benefits. Do you think that Nicolas Maduro and his family, do you think that they were hungry when millions of their people were literally eating off the streets, eating out of garbage cans, when they were waiting in line for hours for not even a loaf of bread, for just like a roll? Do you think that the people at the top, do you think that Maduro and his cronies were hurting? No. The reason that so many of these radical leftist millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires are backing the DSA, backing Marxism, is because they know how it plays out. They know that the people at the top never get a full reckoning. And as a matter of fact, they get protected from the people at the bottom far more easily than in a world of capitalism. And I'm not talking about crony capitalism, I'm talking about actual capitalism. They know that they're on the easy button side of the world when they do this. And a perfect example, let me go ahead and pull up this story before I get to the other videos. This was in the New York Post, California Post, New York Post this morning. Meet the billionaire power couple advocating communism for landlords and a global welfare state from their $30 million Hamptons McMansion. And they've got multiple places. You may have heard of these people. Let me go ahead and pull them up. Picture of them. Let's see. Is that yeah. So it's Bobby and Carola Jane, Jain, if you want to take note, if you want to follow along with them in their evil ways. Jane was basically a hedge fund manager, and Bobby was, and then Carola, as they call her, the socialist socialite. Yes, she's a Marxist, full blown. She goes around. She's been in marketing. She's currently, she basically just helps to decide how all of the money from other people, of course, not their own riches, but other people's money, gets redistributed across New York City. They run nonprofits that help the poor. Oh, the poor. And I'm not ripping on the poor. I'm saying that they don't really help the poor. Nothing says, according to the article, nothing says eat the rich like paying for the knives and forks. A hedge fund billionaire and his art groupie wife are pumping millions into socialist think tanks positioned to help New York City's Mayor Zohran Mamdani achieve his Democratic Socialist of America-backed workers' paradise. The pair are on a mission to punish landlords and railroad more New Yorkers into government housing. Control, 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 control. From their $20 million Upper East Side townhouse and their 10-bedroom, 9-bathroom, 10,000 square foot Hamptons McMansion, Bobby and Carola Jane write checks funding the Mamdani-linked intelligentsia paid to create models of how far-left concepts like universal basic income and a decommodification of the housing market would work. The answer, of course, is that it wouldn't work, and they know this, but it's so popular. Never underestimate the jealousy, the envy that can drive people who have less to want to take from those who have more. Marxism makes that promise. It never delivers, of course. It never delivers. It can deliver for a short time, for a very short time, until all of a sudden the people at the top, they run out of money too. Then where are you going to get the money? You can't. There's no more money. Margaret Thatcher, right? I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. That's the problem every time. It's basic math. But try to get a downtrodden, even a middle-class leftist to understand the math. They can't, they won't, they refuse. Most of the time, not all the time. I mean, there's some that get it, and then they usually become Republicans. Back to the article. It's a kind of anti-capitalist thinking that has some economists throwing up their hands. It must be one, and this comes from John Cochran, an economist at Stanford. He says, it must be one of those cults where you have to show you're a member by mouthing absurd emperor's clothes nonsense. 16th century Grand Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo I de' Medici, supported art because he worried about getting into heaven as a rich man. I wish our guilty billionaires would support great classic art instead of stupid social causes. Or you know what? How about we just let them spend their money however they want to spend their money? How about we let them invest into building things, as they have done for 250 years here in America? How about letting capitalism work? Because capitalism, not crony capitalism, but capitalism does work. It's a bad system, don't get me wrong. I mean, it really is legitimately a very bad system. It's just the best bad system, by far, hands down. So you can check out that article over at New York Post, read more about this couple. They are siphoning money there. It mentioned the think tanks. They're also, they publish blogs and newsletters and publications to try to indoctrinate and brainwash as many people as possible. They are super rich. They spend their money trying to get poor people to want to take from the other super rich, even though that's never actually how it works out, not in the long run. All right. Yeah, let's go to Tiffany Smiley. I need to get her back on the show. She's smart, and she also comes very, very close to getting it. But they all keep making at least one little mistake. Let's see if you can catch hers.
Yeah, there's never been a better time to be a socialist in the United States of America, which seems crazy that I'm even saying that. But there is an open lane, and they are taking it full steam ahead. These candidates, they hate Israel. They want to abolish ICE. They want Medicare for all. And I think what is most frightening is that they actually hate America. There's a candidate on record that Mamdani is backing that actually said that the USA is a disgrace and she would like to wipe her hands with the American flag. Those are frightening comments. And what they are doing is they're playing on people's emotions, and they're offering false promises that seem to be selling. I think tomorrow will be the litmus test to see how strong Mamdani is. He clearly appears to be the leader of the Democrat Party at this point, and tomorrow will prove if he is or not. Something else I think, that they play to is this no deportations.
Right.
But that isn't just socialism. That isn't just these far left socialist candidates. That's actually kind of mainstream in the Democrat Party right now. You have Tellerico saying that he wants to lay a welcome mat out at the southern border, and you have Plattner saying that he wants to abolish ICE. So socialism seems to be taking a foothold in the Democrat Party, and we'll find out Tuesday how strong it is.
Very close, very close. She's almost there. But you already know the answer, I'm sure, as to what she sort of got wrong. She says that socialism is taking hold in the Democrat Party, and that's not exactly true. The Democrat Party is being taken as a whole by the Marxists. This is the shift that's happening. It's not like, when you say that it's taken hold, that means you're pulling people off the train and putting them on your train. What the DSA is trying to do is hijack the train. They don't want Democrats on their team. They want to convert those Democrats into Marxists. They don't want to be part of the Democrat Party. They want to take over the Democrat Party. And they can do it. And again, I don't want to overestimate them. I don't want to give the timeline like this is it. And I'm not ready to say that Zohran Mamdani is the leader of the Democrat Party. He is definitely the leader of the left wing of the Democrat Party. He and AOC, with Bernie as their patron godfather or whatever, between the three of them, yes, they are the ideological leaders of what is becoming of the Democrat Party, but they don't have the control yet. They don't. there is still the very powerful uniparty swamp. Now, you might wonder if the uniparty swamp is so powerful, and if they have been used in the past, and even in the present, by the globalist elite cabal, by the powers and principalities, then why is the DSA being allowed to usurp them? And it's very similar to, I hate to use this analogy, but it's very similar to a new dog, right? I mean, anyone who's ever had a dog that has aged, when that dog gets, on in years, you can pet them, but you can't exactly go out and throw a frisbee with them, okay? Maybe you get a younger dog as a companion for the older dog. And maybe that older dog ends up hating the younger dog because she's getting more attention than, and it's not based on personal experience, it sort of is, but whatever. Point is that the Democrat Party, the uniparty swamp itself, the mechanism is still there and it's still useful for the globalist elite cabal, but it's not going to be forever. The DSA is the replacement. The Marxists are the replacement. They will eventually, over time, and again, I don't know if this is a year or a decade or longer, but at some point, they will be in control of not just the Democrat Party, but the uniparty swamp itself. This is one of the reasons why they are so vehemently opposed to the Save America Act. Let's go ahead and go. I'm going to switch this around a little bit. I was going to save the solution to the end, but I just gave you the solution. Save America Act is our best bet, okay? It really is. Because despite the popularity of the DSA within the Democrat Party, they're still part of the Democrat Party, which without cheating, the Democrat Party can't win. We know this. We've seen this. We've experienced it ourselves. So, if you can't stop the Democrat Party with the Save America Act, if they're unwilling to, then maybe they would be willing to with the rising Democratic Socialists of America. Maybe stopping the Marxists is enough to get John Thune going. I hope so. So let's talk about that. Let's go straight to the solution, and then we'll come back and readdress the problem. I'm going to take a very short break with my brand new promo. Super excited about that. And then after the break, we'll get to the solutions. And they both, in both cases, they have to do with John Thune. There are 3 places where I put my best stuff. Of course, you can find me on X, where a lot of people who watch the show have caught on to the idea that some of the videos, most of the videos, maybe all of the videos that I play during my show, I actually post them on X first. So you might get a sneak peek as to what I'm doing by following me at JD Rucker. You can also go to my conservative and Christian news aggregator, the only one that is mine and only mine. All the content there is what I find across the internet, what I publish myself, and that is at jdrucker.com for the best of the best, the stories that are most important to me. Usually 2, maybe 3 in a week, sometimes occasionally 4, but usually 2 or 3. You can subscribe to my Substack, jdrucker.substack.com, and if you become a paid subscriber, that will help out this show tremendously. So, x.com/jdrucker, jdrucker.com, or jdrucker.substack.com, and get all the Rucker you could possibly want. So what's the deal with all of these Central and South American countries suddenly voting right-wing? It wasn't too long ago, just during the Biden years, when the vast majority of countries in Central and South America had left-wing governments. What changed? Was it just President Trump's presence? Maybe that has a little bit to do with it. These countries do want to make their countries great again. Are the people just fed up? Yeah, I think they've been fed up for a long time, but they weren't able to win elections until just all of a sudden recently. What really changed? Well, according to my good friends over at Revolver News, there was one big change, and as Anna Paulina Luna notes, she calls it the Rubio effect. 7 quote-unquote far-right candidates have won in Latin America since USAID was defunded. Huh. Go figure. I thought that it was all about aid and saving children, and Ro Khanna saying that that it was, keeping 4.5 million children alive, and now they're all dead. No. It has nothing to do with the children. It has everything to do with the politics behind it all. According to the article, remember when they tried to sell us on the idea that USAID was simply a humanitarian agency? That was a hoot. They claimed USAID built schools, delivered food, and helped poor countries to develop. That was their sales pitch. It was a lie, because as it turns out, much of the money was flowing into a massive web of NGOs, activist groups, media projects, civil society organizations, think Soros, and democracy programs that helped shape political life in other countries. Then President Trump pulled the plug and something interesting happened. It was back in January 20th, 2025, Inauguration Day, when President Trump froze new foreign aid obligations and disbursements while his teams reviewed where the money was going. Within weeks, USAID's website was taken down, its Washington headquarters was closed, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio was the acting administrator. By March, the administration said it had canceled about 83% of the agency's programs. Interesting timing. And that brings us to the interesting stuff that started happening. Suddenly, Latin America began moving sharply to the right. And there's the post by Ana Paulina Luna. You can see, and keep in mind, in most of the rest of the world, red means left wing and blue means right wing. You can see that in June of 2023, there were 10 left-wing nations and 3 right-wing nations. That has shifted to now there's a right-wing majority as of this month. You still got Brazil. Yes, we get it. You still have pretty much the entire East Coast is all red, and in their case, red is left-wing. And the West Coast is all blue, which is right-wing. Go figure. It goes to show, if the left wing didn't have cheating available to them, I would argue that 80%, maybe 90% of countries would be right-wing. I would also argue that in the United States we would have about maybe a dozen Democrat-led states. Now, the cities themselves, don't get me wrong, most major cities would still be run by Democrats, but not all of them. There would be some that would switch up. They require cheating in order to maintain their majorities and oftentimes supermajorities, such as out here in California. But they're pushing even harder now. This is where the negative side effect of President Trump's presence, as well as the shift in mentality amongst American voters. This is where the left is trying very, very hard to not just elect Democrats, but to elect Democrat Socialists. They're going to the extreme in order to try to sneak as many in while they can. This is why they fear the Save America Act. This is why they fear exposure of voter rolls. This is why you have left-wing judges out there stopping anything that might even smell like election integrity. Oh, they desperately do not want anything of election integrity to get in the way and muck up their machinery of left-wing politics, left-wing voter cheating, election fraud. That's what it is. We're seeing it in Latin America. We're seeing it in some parts of Europe, not all of Europe. Europe is, in my humble opinion, already mostly conquered. But we do see it here in the United States of America, which is why I will say for the, 500th time, we must pass the Save America Act. And if John Thune is unwilling to push it forward, then John Thune must be replaced as Senate Majority Leader.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Speaking of voter fraud, a district judge has ruled that she's in charge. And her name is Sparkle Suknanen. And no, I did not make that up, and we're not going to dwell on her name. Let's go to the article that we have over at Patriot.tv titled, "One Judge Now Controls How America Verifies Its Voters." Once again, the country is left to wonder why it bothered holding a presidential election in 2024 when the operative question of how the federal government confirms that voters are citizens now runs through the chambers of a single district judge in Washington, D.C. On Monday, U.S. District Judge Sparkle Suknanen, a Biden appointee, go figure, set aside the Trump administration's overhaul of this SAVE database in a 75-page ruling. Now, to be clear, the SAVE database is very different from the Save America Act. It's a separate situation, but it is still important, and it's something that we were really going to be leaning on heavily for the upcoming midterm elections. Now, with this ruling, with the timing being very conspicuous, just 5 months before the election, it seems unlikely that we will be able to appeal it in time and have it impact the midterms. In her declaration, 75-page declaration, she said that Washington, D.C. had knowingly trampled on the privacy rights of American citizens in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote. They always use this very, very colorful language when expressing their reasoning behind trying to steal elections. Now, in this particular case, to be very fair, number one, this is not the Save America Act. This is the SAVE system, which is the Systemic Alien Verification for Entitlement system that has existed since 1986. In 2025, the Trump administration had expanded the tool, bolstered it, made it to where it was more effective, and we were going to use it to make the elections more secure, to prevent illegal aliens from being able to vote in federal elections. Unfortunately, this isn't a matter of, just total government overreach, or judicial overreach, I should say. In this case, she kind of has a point. Now, I'm not agreeing with the ruling. I'm just saying that she has a reason behind her ruling. Suknanen leaned heavily on Texas, where the revamped system flagged a number of registrants who turned out to be citizens. Naturalized Americans were forced to prove their citizenship to stay on the rolls, and at least one citizen reportedly had a registration revoked without ever knowing it. Now, we can and must secure our elections, but we must also preserve the right for any American citizen to vote. And when the system is broken in a way, as it was in Texas, that can prevent righteous, lawful American citizens from being able to vote, that system has to be fixed. Now, it shouldn't be completely torn down the way that this district judge has done, but again, this isn't just a matter of pure judicial overreach. She overreacted, for sure. This should have been something where she goes out and says, hey, it's broken, fix it. Instead, she said, it's broken, so don't use it anymore. And that's where she's very much wrong. The remedy is sweeping, the timing is conspicuous, and the rationale rests on a privacy theory that collapses under the slightest pressure. The federal government already holds every Social Security number and every citizenship record it issues. The notion that it commits a fresh privacy violation, because that's where she's going after privacy in this case, not just the usurping of one's right to vote, but also she's saying that it's a privacy issue because you can't really cross-reference Social Security numbers with voter registration. That's dumb. Why? Because they already have access to both. So being able to cross-reference it as a tool is simply common sense. It's logical. That's how we're able to determine, okay, so this person voted, but we can't find a Social Security record of this person. What happened? I'm not going to dwell on it. Look, we need the Save America Act. What is that, number 583? I just keep hammering it. But here's the thing. We do have the ability to, and this is something that I haven't researched. I read it as a headline. I'll admit it. I read it as a headline yesterday, and I thought, that's interesting. Apparently, we have the ability, or I guess the Senate has the ability to vote on the Save America Act every day between now and the election. Why not? Why not push, at least try with the filibuster? Why not just... Of course, the answer to that is that John Thune is not just a rhino, not just a fake Republican, not just somebody who's against the party, but more importantly, someone who is against the nation. He is part of the uniparty swamp. He represents the R in the uniparty swamp. He replaced Mitch McConnell, the original R in the uniparty swamp. by replacing him as his protege, as his heir apparent. He, of course, took up the mantle of being the main obstructionist when Republicans have power. Now, if and when Republicans lose power and Democrats take hold again, John Thune will be there just screaming about voter integrity. But now that he has the power to force the vote, to promote a proper filibuster. We're not even talking about having to just abolish the filibuster, even just the standard talking filibuster that was in use for decades. Even just going back to that, he doesn't need anything to make that happen. Make it happen. Put Democrats on record. And the argument against it is that, that'll tie up the Senate for so long and we'll be unable to pass important legislation. What legislation are you passing? He makes me so mad. So as mad as I can be at Sparkle Suknanen, this district judge for basically usurping voter integrity, I can look to John Thune as the primary culprit, the one that really, really, truly needs to be purged from the United States Senate. Not just as Senate Majority Leader. I want him out of the Senate altogether.
Oh, Johnny, I apologize. I forgot you were there. You may go now.
Somebody noted that the good transition. Oh, Johnny Thune, I forgot you were there. It's impossible to forget he's there. Checking the chats real quick. Something that caught my attention. Doug Ryland says, JD, it's been Islam's strategy to move into high population areas where they can increase, and at 20% plus or minus of the population, they begin to pursue political influence. Spot on 100%. And that is exactly what has happened in Europe, and it's exactly what's starting to happen here in the United States of America. And this is a prelude to tomorrow's show. For those who missed the beginning, today we're handling the red side of the Red-Green Alliance, the Marxism. Tomorrow, we handle the green side of the Red-Green Alliance, the Islamists. And just as a prelude to play off what Doug said, the reality is that our way to defeat them, to stop them, outside of legislation, outside of deportation, outside of other things, the best thing that we can do is to adopt two of their strategies. They have two amazing strategies. I mean, super amazing strategies for their conquest of Western society. Strategy number one is that they are the masters at coming together and getting involved politically. Where we might be able to get, let's go talk to 15 of our friends and hopefully 2 of them will end up showing up at the city council meeting. They go and talk to 15 of their friends and 150 of them show up at the city council meeting. And then they vote for this, they vote for that, and they get up there and oh my gosh, they are so politically active. They don't even need 20%. They can take over city councils. They can take over entire county assessors' offices just with a smaller percentage of the population. They don't need a ton because they have true motivation. They want to take us over. They want Sharia law. They want Christianity and freedom to be gone. And they seem to be far more motivated than we are at defending those things. And that's got to change. That's strategy number one. Strategy number two is that they are very good at populating. They take the biblical standard, be fruitful and multiply, and they make rabbits seem celibate. Okay? They just, kids, popping out kids. Now, that's not going to necessarily help us today, but we got it. We can't just defend the right now. We have to think long term. We need more kids, more American kids, more Christian kids. And I don't care about race, by the way. Okay, so this isn't about, we need more white kids. No, we need more American children. People who are born into families that love America. I don't care where they're from. Okay? It can be an awesome, amazing Mexican family that came here legally and they start just busting out a bunch of kids. Awesome. Do it. South Korean family, awesome, do it. White family, black family, Asian family, Native American family, whatever, as long as it's American families. People that are born to a nation that they love, into a faith that they can embrace, and into a free style of living that is counter to Sharia. Because if you continue to allow the opposite to happen, if we keep getting lapped, basically, then no, we're not going to survive. We are not going to survive as a nation for very much longer. This is the other reason, by the way, and we're not going to talk about this today. Soon, I promise, soon. I almost made it. So when Tucker Carlson left the Republican Party officially yesterday, it was a big deal. Lots of people were talking about it. I thought, you know what, this would be a good opportunity for me to discuss the woke right, because yesterday I had asked people to send me some ideas, great ideas across the board. Keep sending them. If you want to send me ideas for guests, people, maybe guests that you know, if you know them, if you can reach people, please. Okay, for example, Eric had sent me Amy Meck. I've been trying to get Amy Meck on the show for years. Okay, I hit her up again last night. You know, we follow each other on X. I need to just maybe go out there publicly and say, Amy, actually, you know what? Let's check. We're going to do it live. We're going to check something, because I specifically told her that. Nope, no reply. Yeah. Anyway, so any guests, any topics, and one of the topics that was asked by multiple people was to talk about, Candace, Tucker, what's his name? What's the weird kid? Oh my gosh, I'm having a total brain fart. That shows you about how much I've ever watched of his show. Fuentes, there we go. Fuentes, talk about that crew, and I will. We will have many people. If you have any requests for guests, topics, whatever, jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk. All right. I've got an article. This is the article for this show, as a matter of fact, that we have posted over at jdrucker.com. Democratic Socialists are far more dangerous than Democrats, and they're rising fast. I want to go over a little bit of this one. It's not a long article, 5-minute read, according to the article itself. 5-minute read. But I think it really does. We need some focus here, because I can just go off on DSA all day, but we've got to do more than that. And today is one thing that was noted earlier by Tiffany Smiley. She said today we're going to learn. For those who don't know, just in case, today is the day that Zohran Mamdani's his first major endorsements in a statewide election, in this case, city, state elections, that he's going. We're testing to see if he can bring DSA people over the top. Okay. He made 3 endorsements. One of them is going to win, for sure. Okay, that's I forgot the guy's name even. One is going to be Dan Goldman. He's going to win, and that's sort of a no-brainer, because Goldman has just been an absolute debacle. He really screwed things up for himself. But the other 2 are both in question. Both those ones are the ones where even the betting markets are against Mamdani's selections. If they win, then that means that, yes, I will come on here publicly tomorrow and say, yep, I was wrong. It really is not just that he's a component. This really is his party, and the Democrat Party is further along than I thought on their way to being taken over, completely captured by the Marxists. But here's the thing: even if they lose, it's not a loss for Mamdani. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, this is going to look so bad. You're going to have conservative media out there. We're going to be like, oh yeah, look, Mamdani's influence is not nearly as big as we thought. That's what we'll say. I will say that in at least one article, because I want it to be true. It's not because I think it's true. It's because I want it to be true. I mean, he is trying to take some pretty, hardcore radicals and see if he can push them over the edge. If he does, huge win. If he doesn't, he's got nothing to lose, because legacy media is not going to go out there and attack him for it. They're not going to be like, oh my gosh, You telling me that this woman who hates America and has espoused hating America couldn't win an election in America, even though Zohran Mamdani endorsed her? Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so that's what's happening today. The New York Times recently ran a headline that should have unsettled every Democrat who still believes he belongs to a normal political party. Democrat Socialists took City Hall. Now they're aiming at Congress. And they have already won, by the way, in Congress. I'll be talking about him here in a minute. They already have at least one new squad member. That race is done out of Philadelphia. The paper meant it as a victory lap. Read it again and notice what it quietly concedes. The Democratic Socialists are not described as Democrats who happen to lean left. They are a distinct force that took something and is now coming for more. The press has spent a decade insisting that the difference between a Democrat and a Democrat Socialist is a matter of intensity, like the difference between warm and hot. It is not. It is the difference between a host and the organism feeding on it. The Democrat Socialists of America, the Marxists, the Mamdanis of this world, are parasites that have infected the Democrat Party. They are spreading. They're spreading from the inside. And eventually, again, I don't know if it's a year or a decade, but at some point, if they're not stopped, they will take over the party. They will take over their host body. The Democrats of today will no longer be there. As a matter of fact, any remnant of the Chuck Schumers of the world, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, they will be deemed hardcore conservatives compared to what the near future Democrat Party will look like. That distinction is not conservative spin. It is the stated self-understanding of the movement itself. The Democratic Socialists of America will tell you on its own website exactly what it is and is not. The trouble is that almost no one in legacy media bothers to quote it. And it's not just bother. They're still covering for it. They don't want you to know. They don't want anybody to know. They read it. They're like, oh, geez, crap. That's pretty hardcore. That's pretty extreme. We better not mention that. And they don't. And this is one of the reasons why. I do blame voters. Okay, if you're an ignorant voter, I blame you. You don't have to be ignorant. We have the internet. We have the wealth of human knowledge in our pockets. You can go to the Democrat Socialists of American website, and you can read what they say. And what they say is very straightforward. They're not lying. They're telling you. They're not pretending. They're not sugarcoating it. Oh, we just need a little more kumbaya. No, they're saying we need to eliminate capitalism. We need to take what's out there and give it to the people. We need the people, the workers, to be in control of everything. What they won't tell you is that the result of that will be that there will be no builders. There will be no creators. There will be no innovators. There will be no Elon Musks of the world. Why would they exist? I keep thinking that there's Elon or somebody has got to be building Galt's Gulch somewhere. Somewhere there is a bunker or something that's not just for the apocalypse, it's for rich people to go be free. I mean, it's not the fear of nuclear bombs or space aliens or pandemics, hemorrhagic fever, or anything like that. No, it's fear of the Marxists. The Red-Green Alliance is what they fear. And I can assure you that I would be very shocked if there's not a bunker somewhere. This is not a wing of the party. It is a separate body. Begin with what the DSA says about its own nature. The organization describes itself as a political and activist organization, not a party. One that uses a variety of tactics from legislative to direct action. For those who don't know, direct action means violence. It means getting out there, standing in front of cars and hoping that you get run over. Or just walking up and throwing a milkshake at Andy No. Or breaking windows, or burning down businesses, a la George Floyd riots. Those are direct actions. And they publicize this on their website. Because again, they know that most Americans probably don't even realize, oh, direct action. Does that mean that they're actually going out there and they're protesting? That's what that must mean. It now claims more than 100,000 members and a presence in all 50 states. It holds national conventions, elects a national political committee that functions as its board of directors, and ratifies a binding platform that no county Democratic committee ever votes on. So they are a party within a party, basically, even though they claim they're not a party. They're just a party in their own way. This is not the structure of a faction. It is the structure of a rival party that has chosen for now not to print its own name on the ballot. The DSA does not have a ballot line, so it borrows one. It recruits candidates, trains them, funds them, and runs them in Democratic primaries. Then collects the seats under a label voters already trust. The Democratic Party is not the DSA's home. It is their vehicle. Again, this isn't about taking people off the Democrat train. This is about taking over the train. We're watching a hijacking of the Democrat Party. And as much as I'd like to say, oh, that's kind of funny, because it sort of is, this is one of those things where it's like, hey, you break it, you buy it, buddy. Well, they broke it. They broke America. And they thought that they were always going to be on top. And then the Zohran Mamdanis and the Bernies and the AOCs came along, the Katie Wilsons. Now let me throw this out there real quick. Because I only touched on it briefly earlier, but I want to elaborate. When I say that they take Democrats and they shift them, we're seeing the perfect example of that happening in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger and Jay Jones were sold as moderates. They were sold as common sense Democrats. They were sold as old school. And within minutes of them having power, they started acting like Democratic Socialists of America. They have put forth the most radical laws in the nation. Virginia has certain laws that they're currently trying to pass that are more radical than California, more radical than Washington State or Massachusetts or New York. And this is Virginia, quote unquote, purple Virginia. How did that happen? Because they captured Abigail Spanberger. I don't know how. Because she wasn't this radical before. I followed her through Congress. She wasn't a moderate by any means. She was a progressive. Okay? You've got your mainstream Democrats, you got your progressive caucus, and then way over there, you got your Marxists, your Democratic Socialists of America. Okay? Well, she was in this progressive caucus. She was a little bit to the right of like a Chuck Schumer, to the left of a Chuck Schumer, but to the right of a Kamala Harris. But until she got into office, until she became governor of Virginia. And then she it was like light speed. Okay? For those Star Trek fans out there, it was the Picard maneuver. I'm just going to leave it at that. She Picard maneuvered her way over to the DSA. Where was I? All right, back to the article. They published the revolution. Pay attention to this because this goes deeper into what they actually want. They published the revolution and dared you to read it. An ordinary Democrat triangulates. He tells the suburbs one thing, and then activists base another, and he counts on no one comparing notes. We've seen this. And it's not just Democrats, Republicans, a lot of them, not as many, but some of them do it as well. This regular Democrat, or this Democrat Socialist, writes the program down, ratifies it in a convention, and then posts it online. The one good thing is they tell you exactly what they want to do. They do. They tell you what their plans are. They didn't used to. But they do now. They are to the left of Bernie Sanders, to be clear. Bernie is always going to be their goofy grandpa guy. Oh, you did so good, Bernie. You really paved the way for us. But they've left him too. He is a moderate compared to the current Marxists. The 2025 platform titled, wait for it, Workers Deserve More. It's not a wish list of higher minimum wage, as the Daily Wire documented. The document commits the organization to scrapping the United States Senate. Now, as much as I hate the U.S. Senate, it's still a constitutional body, and there is still, when it's run properly, when it has actual American patriots as running the show and voting in it, it can actually be a very solid and amazing thing. If you could ever get the state legislators to pick senators instead of by popular vote within a state, hey, we could go back to good things, but we can't get there yet. That's a discussion for another day. But hey, if the DSA gets control, they'll just eliminate the Senate altogether. They don't want a Senate. They want a single body. Crazy. But not as crazy as some of the other stuff. They want to defund the Department of War. Why do we need a Department of War? Can't we just open the borders and get along with everybody? I mean, we haven't really had to use. It's always just for conquest. We've never actually had to use our defense Department of War, for a long time. And it's always, people don't invade us. Now, of course, I know you get it, but just in case, they don't get it. At least not the foot soldiers, the idiots. They don't understand that the reason that we haven't had to use it is because we had it. There aren't very many deterrents better than an aircraft carrier or an Apache helicopter or a Warthog or a U.S. Marine. Those are deterrents. Somebody would have to be crazy or suicidal to come after us. Well, they want to get rid of that. Hey, who needs that? They want to grant amnesty to all illegal immigrants. They don't want any, but no human is illegal. Doesn't matter how they got here. And they want to abolish the carceral forces of the capitalist state. No more jails. Who needs jails? Nobody's illegal. Nothing's illegal. There are regulations, though. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. It is what it is. It says read that slowly. Don't read it slowly. Let's read this fast. Then there's the provision that should end any pretense that this is a normal Democrat politics, in case you had no idea. The platform calls for a new constitution. Oh, that's all. And a government in which the executive and the courts are stripped of independence and made subordinate to Congress. Oh, yes, you can't have ruling by the people unless the actual rulers are just members of Parliament. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Congress. The men and women now winning mayoralities and want to replace the President of the United States and the Supreme Court with bodies that answer to a single legislative chamber. That's not reform. That is the demolition of the separation of powers proposed in writing by people currently holding executive office in American cities, major American cities, New York City. And as I'm about to explain to you, they will have L.A. They already have Seattle. Washington, D.C. is done deal unless President Trump says, hey, home rule. We win. I hope he does. I'm not big on any type of overreach. I like local rule over pretty much everything, right? Not in the case of D.C. Gotta say, that's one where I will be all in favor of that. The most candid faction does not even bother with euphemisms. The Marxist Unity Group, which holds seats on the DSA's governing committee, refers to the founding documents as the Slaveholder Constitution and openly states its aim. It will dismantle. This is from their word. This is what they say within the DSA. They will dismantle the Slaveholder Constitution and write the founding documents of the new republic. We will need to destroy every institution that denies the people an authentic popular democracy, abolishing the Senate, the Electoral College, the Supreme Court, and the independent presidency. In other words, they want a European style of government. They want a parliament with a prime minister who answers to the parliament. We'll get back more into that. I'm not going to spit. I'm close to spitting. I will admit I'm close to spitting, but I'm not going to spit. I want to go to Hope real quick, just briefly. This is Melissa DeRosa. For those who don't know her, she was the chief of staff for Andrew Cuomo. No, not that one. The other one. The one that made it. She was the chief of staff for Andrew Cuomo. She fought against Zohran Mamdani. She continues to oppose the Democratic Socialists of America. She is a full-blown hardcore Democrat, but she's in that middle lane. She's a, I guess, lucid Democrat? Sensible Democrat? I wouldn't call her a moderate. She's not a moderate. She's a progressive, but she's far to the right of the Marxists. She is, by their standards, she would be considered almost conservative. And she has a warning for those who don't understand or appreciate what the DSA actually represents.
Yeah. This DSA is very organized, Melissa, and they only have 100,000 declared members. But their message is, it's sexier than what people are seeing out there. It's just the way Mamdani won in New York, right? It's appealing to social media, all these things. With a lot of people, I think, who don't really understand what socialism really is, I think, in many cases, if I may say so.
No, that's right. And it truly is the no-class free pizza platform, right? It is free this, free that. We're all in New York City, right? Where are our free buses? Where's the free rent? Where is the free daycare? None of it exists. So it sounds good to get in, but then once you're in, you don't deliver. And on top of it, they adopt really dangerous policies as it relates to public safety. It's abolish ICE. It's abolish the police. It's abolish jails. And so it's just, I'm afraid as a Democrat, it's going to set the party back decades.
Yeah.
Stormy Knight noted that she sounds like Fetterman. She really kind of does. Again, she is a progressive. She's not like, I don't even know. Do you call him a Clinton Democrat? I don't know. I mean, she's not like that, but she does want standard, old school Democrat policies in place. Okay, and now she doesn't get invited as much on like CNN. I mean, she's having to go to Fox News to get the word out there. That should tell you something. Let's do a quick break. I'm gonna replay my pillow. Look, I know we've all heard it before, but he needs it, we need it. It's time. It's time to revisit My Pillow. Oh, and then after that, we're going to talk about, just so that I can leave a little teaser, we're going to talk about the most important aspect of it. This is what they want. They want to refashion society. That's their words. And it sounds almost harmless. Oh, refashion. Except it would be the destruction of the United States of America. So stay tuned. Look, I get it. Over the last probably decade or so, everybody's heard about My Pillow. You either love Mike Lindell, I love him, or you have a different opinion of him, so be it. But his pillows are stinking awesome, as are his slippers, as are his bed covers, and pretty much everything they have over there. All American, pro-America, America First company, of course. So, and they're hurting. They've been attacked more so, as Mike likes to say, he's been attacked more than any other man in America other than President Trump himself, and so is his company. So support them, please. Go to jdrucker.com/pillow, jdrucker.com/pillow. You can always go to mypillow.com/jdr, same destination, but either way, go there and use promo code JDR to get the best possible discount. Mike is very good at keeping all the discounts uniform, so just because you might hear about him from a bigger influencer or a bigger brand, we all get the same discounts. So using promo code JDR, you help me out, you help Mike out, you help America. Go to mypillow.com/JDR. The Democrat Party is in huge trouble, and it's not coming from the outside, and it's not because they're going to lose a whole bunch of elections during the general election. No, they're in huge trouble because the Democratic Socialists of America are winning the primaries. They're going to win so many primaries. This is why I've said before, and I'll say it again, getting Spencer Pratt out of the way, and people are saying, oh, they just wanted to make sure it was Democrat on Democrat, and they didn't want to risk Spencer Pratt winning. They weren't concerned about that. This is Los Angeles. Okay, if they really just wanted a Democrat to win, they would have just let Karen Bass win. They wouldn't have wasted all of the voter fraud equity that they used to get Nithya Raman in there. This wasn't about getting a Democrat. This is about getting Nithya Raman in there. She is, and I will say this with a 99% certainty, okay? And I never say that. But I will tell you, mark the day when you hear this, you'll and call me out on it in November if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Nithya Raman is going to defeat Karen Bass in November. They're going to make certain that she does. Getting Spencer Pratt out of the way wasn't about defending Democrats or defending Karen Bass. It was about making Nithya Raman, this Democratic Socialist of America, this Zohran Mamdani of the West Coast, making her the mayor of L.A., just like they did with Katie Wilson, just like they're doing with every primary election where they have control. Now, keep in mind, the reason that they're not even running DSA members in areas where they have to, where the general election is up for grabs, right? They're only going after the bluest areas. It's not just because they have a better chance of being more popular there. It's because if they can get the primary, then it doesn't matter, okay? There's no chance that Curtis Sliwa was going to win in New York City, even if Andrew Cuomo got out of the way. Zohran Mamdani had been anointed, okay? He didn't have to defend his ideology. He just had to smile because it's New York City. Because it's New York City. That's why, again, if it was just about getting, making sure that a Democrat wins in LA, they would have just kept it. Yeah, they could cheat their way into defeating Spencer Pratt. I mean, it's 19% of Los Angeles is Democrat. So they were scared of Spencer Pratt? No, they weren't scared of Spencer Pratt. Not in massive voter fraud zones like Los Angeles. No, if they wanted to win, they would have won. They would have won. Karen Bass would have beaten Spencer Pratt. This was about pushing Nithya Raman up. And that is the goal. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, I guess I understand the reason, but we're blind to it. The Democrats, they're scrambling. They're like, what the hell is going on? Okay, and I'm talking about the mainstream Democrats. They're like, okay, okay. I guess this is what we're doing now. Whereas the Republicans are sort of like, oh, I don't know. I don't think that the American people aren't ready for this. Really? I want you to listen to both of these statements. The first one by Democrat Socialist of America in Pennsylvania, Chris Rabb. He's already won his primary. He is going to be in the United States Congress. Guaranteed, done deal. Deep Blue District, he's in. So he's up there helping the DSA and helping his fellow DSA members win their primaries in New York. But I also want you to listen to Guy Benson, who is stuck in this delusion that, oh, no way that America could fall for this.
He was campaigning in New York City yesterday. Here's what he says they have in mind for the big picture.
It's a long laundry list, my man. I mean, we're talking about fighting fascism. We're talking about refashioning an entire society. We're talking about holding our own party to account. We're talking about changing the very nature of the culture of Congress and what we allow them to do and what we insist on them doing in ways that have not really happened in generations.
You know what's interesting to me about that, guy, is that it's not just an anti-Trump screed that you might get from some establishment Democrats. They actually have a vision. I might disagree with it, but they have one, and they're trying to lay it out.
That's true, although the line that jumped out to me in that soundbite was, we want to refashion all of society.
Right.
That is the language of radicalism, because these are radicals. And I'm not sure if the American public, even in a blue year, are fully on board for that, that level of extremism.
So I'm going to address Guy Benson first. And there's two things to take away. Number one, he's wrong about the American people not accepting that level of extremism. We've already seen it. They're willing to, mostly out of ignorance. This is why they're not going after competitive districts. They're going after deep blue districts because they know that all they've got to do is win the primary. They don't even have to campaign. I mean, he's in the middle of a congressional campaign. He's up in New York helping his buddies. Okay, this Chris Rabb guy, he's already in. He is going to be a member of the United States Congress with his vision of refashioning all of society. Because again, this is their strategy. I hate to say it, but it's a beautiful strategy. But the other part that he misses, Benson, the other part that he misses is that people are going to even know or care. They're not. It's not just Democrats, the Republicans aren't going to know or care. This is, the biggest threat, and I've said this multiple times on my show, the biggest threat to the United States of America is the Red-Green Alliance. We've seen the green side of this Red-Green Alliance rising across the nation. We've seen it take over Europe. As a result of the red side, the Marxist side, they're already, Europe is captured. Europe, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying that we need to give up. We got to pray, but by golly, I can't see a way out. I just don't think they have the stomach for it. We, on the other hand, we're in the early stages. We need to stop it. And it stops with this election. Unfortunately, how do we stop people like Chris Rabb? How do we stop people like Zohran Mamdani, who all they've got to do is win the primary, which we have no say in. We can't stop them. We can't say, hey, Democrats, you're stupid. Wake up. You're falling for the dumbest thing ever. I mean, these are the people that still believe that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. How are we supposed to get through to them? We can't. So this comes back down to, oh crap, well then what in the world can we do? Because there's only two ways that are feasible, and neither of them are very, very easy. Neither of them are easy at all, as a matter of fact. Number one, we beat them in the general elections. Which, again, if we're going head-to-head, I will say this about what Benson said. Is America ready? No. This is why I am growing a bit more confident that Susan Collins can win in Maine. Not that I hate rooting for Susan Collins. It gnaws at me. I'm growing more confident that she's going to win. I'm growing more confident that James Tallarico is going to lose, that Ken Paxton is going to beat him in Texas. Because again, we're talking about competitive areas, and we could put our ideology up against theirs, and we can expose them, and it's going to make a difference. They were exposing Zohran Mamdani and Katie Wilson, and they'll be exposing Nithya Raman all day. It's not going to make a difference. Chris Rabb, he's openly saying it. He's like, yeah, we want to completely refurbish, refashion, redistribute America, the whole of society. You can say that because, again, in his district, it doesn't matter. So option one, we still try to beat him, and that's tough. Try to get the Curtis Silwas of the world to somehow get in there and win. That's tough. That's really tough. Number two, we go after scandal. I mean, surely there's dirt on these people. I mean, the Oppo research potential here, it has to be grand. There's got to be a recording of them saying, "Death to America," or something. But the problem there, as we're learning in Maine, is that might not even matter either. I mean, this guy is a literal, Graham Plattner, he's a literal Nazi, okay? He has accusations of abuse against women, crazy things that he's talking about with porta potties and pleasuring. I mean, it's. I guess what I'm getting at is there might not be a scandal big enough to stop these people. There might not be. So we can and must, of course, as always, pray hard. And I'm being earnest here. I'm not just saying, just say a prayer for America. No, I'm saying like get on your knees and pray that the Lord will prevent these people from winning, from taking over the United States. Because here's the thing. And let's not glaze over this. Their notion of refashioning all of society, it is, as Dana Perino said, I mean, this is their true belief. They actually have not only a desire, but a plan to do it. Now, their plan, unfortunately for us, is to completely destroy the United States of America. Now, many of them, a lot of them, these true believers in the Marxist cause, a lot of them think we have to take down the entirety of society, and then we can build it back up. Now, that's a naive statement, because there's definitely zero guarantee. I would say there's a very small chance that if they were to accomplish their goals, step one, destroy America, step two, of rebuilding America in their Marxist image, that's almost impossible. I mean, destroying America, it's not something that can easily be built back up. We've got 250 years of history, and it's not, I mean, I don't know if they're deluded or if they just don't care, probably a combination of the two. But that is their plan. Their plan is to destroy America, to take down capitalism. Now, again, I want to be clear. They might not even understand. Okay, there might be this super strong delusion going over them that prevents them from even being able to comprehend what it is that they're saying that they want to do. Like, they think idealistically, they think philosophically, they don't necessarily think realistically, and that's obviously a trait of a Marxist, to deny reality and to pretend like kumbaya is going to fix everything. It won't. It won't. They don't apparently know that. And so they're going to push forward. This is a tremendous threat to the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is being taken over bit by bit. Once they are able to get enough of the party itself replaced, then they're going to work on being more bold, going after areas that, or I should say elections, districts where they are going to have to compete against strong Republicans in districts that aren't necessarily deep blue. And they're going to have to put their record forward. This is why they're starting with this batch. And this isn't new. Keep in mind, you can take it all the way back to the Justice Democrats and Cenk Uygur and Saikat Chakrabarty sitting there, interviewing this bartender from Brooklyn and saying, oh, yeah, I think she's the one. And she was. I mean, they picked her out. And you can say what you will about AOC. She's got challenges, obviously, but she's a winner. She was the first one to really just take a true mainstream incumbent, solid Democrat who should have been in no risk of losing, and they beat him. They beat him with ideology. They beat him with excitement. They beat him with the concepts of fresh blood, new face. Get rid of the old corrupt Democrat Party. Let's get in the new blood. That's that playbook. They've been trying. They failed, actually, pretty badly over the last few years. Not because the strategy was wrong, but because they were picking the wrong candidates. This year, with President Trump in the White House, with Republican majorities, with a Democrat Party that is desperate, so desperate that they're getting themselves arrested over a reflection pool. That's how demented they are. So desperate that they're getting themselves killed by trying to defend criminal illegal aliens. I mean, they're lost because of Donald Trump. And as a result, they're vulnerable to the Democratic Socialists of America. So Democrats are in trouble, but so are we. So is America. I don't know how to stop it. I'm not saying it can't be stopped. We're going to have to sort of, something I want to be clear, something I don't know how to stop it. It's that we got to wait until we're a little bit closer to the elections. We got to see how this pans out. What happens in New York, what happens in other elections, other primaries. And then we have to come up with a strong, cohesive, intelligent plan to inform everyone, not just Republicans, not just independents, but also Democrats about the dangers that are being posed. This is an opportunity for us, folks. Okay, this is a true opportunity that we have presented before us. An opportunity for, if they're saying, okay, well, we're ready to go hit up all these deep blue districts and try to win all these primaries. Okay, well, before they even get to expansion, let's try to nip it in the bud. Let's try to take on their ideology, expose their ideology, and then smack them in the face with an unprecedented, unbelievable Republican victory in some blue district. We only need one. I mean, ideally we could get them all, but that's unrealistic. But we only really need one to get them to at least pump the brakes. To say, ooh, we went super radical over here and we lost a deep blue district. Democrat establishment, the uniparty swamp version, they're over here saying, hey, see? I would say that it's scary, but it's not. This isn't scary. If you've read your Bible, you've read the book, you know how all of this ends. Are we going to go through crazy times? You betcha. I think we're right in the middle of them already. That doesn't mean we need to fret. We do need to pray. Pray like Daniel. Pray for our nation. Pray for our people. And do so in a way that ignores, nothing against Guy Benson, but this whole notion that the people aren't ready. The people, I hate to say it, but it's true. Vast majority of Americans are sheep. They do what they're told. They politically speaking, I'm not talking about in real life, and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well. Go along to get along. This is why the radical fringes on both sides are starting to have a little bit of an impact, because we are in the midst of ever since COVID, we've been in this long struggle, and people are looking for fresh blood. They're looking for new talent, new faces on both sides. Unfortunately for the Republicans, we're not presenting them with a whole lot of good ones. And for the Democrats, they're presenting them with evil, destructive, horrible ones. So the future doesn't necessarily look super bright. But again, no need to fret. I think we'll make it through. And if we don't, we don't. If things go really, really south, so be it. That is the fate of America. We just got to fight it. Fight the good fight it with everything we've got. Because if and when the Democratic Socialists and the political Islamists are able to get their way and get their people in, and I would say slowly, but it's not going to happen slowly, rapidly start taking over portions of the United States of America, as they're in the process of doing, then yes, a lot of Americans are going to suffer. At some point, potentially, all Americans are going to suffer. It's incumbent upon me and you and patriots across the nation to try to stop that from ever happening.
This is your wake-up call, pal.
I'm a huge fan of the notion of testing everything. Okay, test the words that I tell you. If I tell you something biblical, test it against the Bible. If I tell you something secular, test it against your common sense and your understanding of patriotism here in the United States of America. And sometimes testing requires tasting, which is why I would love for you to test my theory that Promised Grounds has the best coffee in the world. The best coffee in the world. You can check them out and test for yourself by going to jdrucker.com/coffee, jdrucker.com/coffee. Pick you up a bag, see if I'm telling the truth. I am. It really is the best. I actually have some right here. Test me out, see if I'm correct, and you might find yourself subscribing to get a whole bunch of bags of Promised Grounds coffee. jdrucker.com/coffee. It really is that good. So what do y'all think? I know that it can seem so doom and gloom. I've often tell people that one of the only reasons that I can do what I do on a regular basis and not get in the doldrums is because I do know. I mean, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I know that it's going to be okay. I know that America is worth fighting for. And I know that I'm going to keep fighting. Okay. I have, and I'm sure this is aligns with many of you, Of course, I put God, Jesus, my Bible, my faith right at the top. And of course, I put my family, my loved ones. They're right there, number 2. And a close third is America. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, it's different. Like, not at the top, that's always at the top. But family and nation, I do, and I'm sure many of you have, made sacrifices on behalf of my nation, sacrifices with my family, and vice versa. I have prevented. For those who don't know, I was actually I joined the Navy years and years ago. Obviously, it wouldn't take me now, but back then, I joined the Navy, and I had I got quickly medically discharged. It was unfortunate, but it was the right thing at the moment because I then found out that I had a family coming. So it worked out. That was over 3 decades ago, and here we are today. So I don't get so bent out of shape, terrified of the Zoran Mamdanis, terrified of the Nithya Ramans, the Katie Wilsons, the Chris Rabs of the world, he's going to be dangerous on Capitol Hill. That guy scares me probably more so than like an Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or any of those guys, because this guy, different from them, they have other motivations, right? He doesn't. His motivation is to destroy the United States of America for the sake of destroying the United States of America, because he believes that he's one of those that believes that he can rebuild it, that he can refashion it in the Marxist image that they have in mind. And those are the people that are most dangerous. They don't lie, keep in mind. He's not going to lie about it. He's just going to flat out tell you what he's going to do. And keep in mind, he has the luxury of being in what is it, District 3? I think it's 3rd District in Pennsylvania. It's Philadelphia. That's like, I think they voted like 90% Kamala Harris. Like, Republicans don't even run there. Like, it's whoever wins the Democrat primary, they win. And he won the Democrat primary. He's going to be in Congress. And he's going to be a very dangerous member of Congress. And there's more like him out there right now. Keep in mind, DSA candidates have won 14 primaries so far. And they still have, I think, 90 more endorsements that haven't played out yet. This isn't just some fringe wing. The closest that we can come to understanding it, and it's definitely not a straight parallel, but think of how the Freedom Caucus, back in the John Boehner days, okay? John Boehner, Paul Ryan. Freedom Caucus was a thorn in their side because they needed the Freedom Caucus in order to pass legislation. But to get the Freedom Caucus to line up, they would have to take the small faction within the Republican Party, and they would have to give them a lot of things that they wanted. That's the same thing that could happen in a Democrat-controlled House and or Senate when you don't need a majority. You don't need the speakership. You don't need to be the Senate Majority Leader. You just need enough members who say, no, we're not going to vote for that unless you abolish ICE at the same time. We're not going to vote for this unless you defund the military, or at least portions of the military. And what are they going to do? We think, oh, well, if there's 200 regular normal Democrats and 30 Democrat Socialists of America, surely the regular Democrats have the upper hand. No, they're impotent at that point. They have zero power. The 30 Democratic Socialists of America have all the power. They get to say what they want in any bill, and that's what has to go in the bill in order to get their say-so. Because without them, nothing gets passed. Again, it's not a direct correlation or a direct comparison with what because the Freedom Caucus wasn't radical. So it's not like they were trying to push through insane things, But the DSA will. This new version of the squad will. And that's why they have to be stopped at that level. They're even more powerful when they're working at the state and the county and the city level as mayors, city council members. You'd be shocked how many city council members are actually Democrat Socialists of America candidates or politicians. It would blow your mind. I mean, out here in LA, I think the entirety of them are. The state legislature here in California, a lot of them won't admit it, but they're DSA friendly. And that's, you got Scott Wiener, the weird 6'8" dude who's going to be taking over Nancy Pelosi's seat. And that guy's insane. And I'm not just talking about the whole, hey, kids should be able to have sex with whatever adults they want thing. That part's already weird. And if you think, they're just too radical to get elected, look at Scott Wiener. I mean, he has initiated some of the most radical legislation that has ever passed through any state in America. And he's the guy. And he won. And he's going to be in Nancy Pelosi's seat. Like I said in the beginning, the biggest mistake we can make is to underestimate them. The second biggest mistake we could make is to overestimate them. They haven't won yet. This isn't time to say, oh, well, I guess it was fun while it lasted. 253, 254 years by the time we're done? It's a good run, guys. Good run. No, it's not time for that. It'll never be time for that. We won't let it happen. We can't let it happen. We have to pray to God that he stops it, that he gives us the power to stop it, that we wake Americans up, that we discover scandals about any of these people, that we get people to actually read their websites, find out what they're actually about. Something. Cure TDS. Something. Anything. Combination thereof. But praise God, he does control everything. He has the power and uses the power to pick our leaders. So I would argue that even if, let's say, we do lose it all, let's say that the Marxists come in, they pave the way for the Islamists, and then they're taking over in their regions, and the Marxists are taking over. You can look at it like this. Marxists are working the coasts. The Islamists are working middle of the country. And then they're in Texas, Minnesota, Michigan. They're working from inside out. DSA is working from outside in. Meet in the middle. Take over America. It's got to stop them. Got to do everything we can to stop them. Starts with prayer, ends with action, and then pray again. That's how we do it. Tomorrow, we will be embracing, to some extent, the exposure of the green side of this. Today we talked about the Marxists. Tomorrow we talk about the Islamists. And oh boy, if you think I was spitting today, wait until tomorrow. You'll get to see what really chaps my khakis. Lord willing, I'll be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.